Hello again, everybody. I'm Snapper Lancaster, welcoming you to another edition of the Central Alabama High School Sports Show. Once again, we're at our home here at the Welcome Center at Ross Bridge, and we look forward to having a good relationship with them. This time of the year, of course, we're talking primarily about three sports. We're talking about in track, cross country, we're talking about volleyball, and of course, football. And looking at the volleyball rankings, the early rankings are already out. Here in the Birmingham area in Class 7A, ranked number 1 is Mountain Brook, number 4 Hoover, Oak Mountain is 6, and Vestavia Hills is 7. So 4 teams in the top 10 in Class 7A in volleyball rankings. 6A, John Carroll is number 1 from here in Birmingham-Jefferson County area. Pelham ranked number 8. And in 5A, Springville is ranked number 7, the only team here in the Birmingham area ranked in the top 10. I had a lot of action last week in the football world. Montevallo defeated Pleasant Grove 48-0, their third win of the season. The importance of that, they are going to be one of our guests here tonight. Homewood with a 54-20 win over Pelham. They bounced back after losing to Vestavia. Pelham off to a slow start with new coach Tom Causey. Clay Chalkville escaped with a 41-40 win over Hillcrest, of course ranked number 1 in 6A, had a close call last week. Hewitt-Trussville defeated Tuscaloosa County. They will be at Vestavia this week in a big game. Jackson-Olin defeated Briarwood the first time in 6 tries. Jackson-Olin had defeated Briarwood under Coach Tim Bakakis' reign. So folks, that's what it looks like tonight. We got 2 important guests. You'll enjoy each one of them, a great coach and his athletes, and of course we've got a physician we'll be talking with about sports injuries and how to not have those. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll be into segment number 1. Don't you go away.
Enjoy the summer even more with great savings from Sarah Mazda.
That's right, this is your summer to save. Get spectacular summer savings on a new Mazda. Save on new 2015 Mazda 3s, only $159 a month. Mazda 6s, only $179 a month. Or take the family on a summer trip in a Mazda CX-5 for $199 a month. And during Mazda's summer drive event, get a new Mazda and your first 2 payments are on us. Plus, all new Sarah Mazdas come with our lifetime warranty and Sarah signature.
Get incredible summer savings at Sarah Mazda,
where we'll put you in the driver's seat.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
Good driver discount, multi-car discount, good student discount. Helping you save money on car insurance is just part of the service you get from State Farm agent Jack Traffinstead. Whether an accident or a simple question, Jack and his staff get you the help you need. And that's the value only a State Farm agent can provide. Call Jack Traffinstead today. 40 million drivers already know nobody gives more discounts to more drivers than State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Oh, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
Folks, welcome back in this first segment tonight. As you can tell, I have a gentleman here. He's not dressed like a coach, and there's a reason for that. Of course, we're talking about Dr. Jeff Dugas of the Andrews Sports Medicine and Orthopedic practice. And Jeff, always good to see you.
Thanks, Snapper. Happy to be here.
And I guess since you're coming in the attire you had in today, that means you had a busy day.
Yeah, I have to apologize for that. I had every intention of throwing the coat and tie on, but I got delayed in the OR a little bit, had a long day, so sorry about that.
Well, that's okay. And of course, Dr. Dugas and I sort of have a personal relationship. He's a team doctor for Vestavia, and I do the play-by-play for the Rebels. And of course, that season's well underway, and Buddy's got his team off to a 2-0 start. But
That's right.
Jeff, one thing that we wanted to talk about in this first segment, because we're going to do 2 segments with you, is we're going to do football by itself, and that is talk about some of the new things. You know, when me and you and Dr. Kane have been with us before, we like to talk about high school athletes with their injuries, preventive measures, and all that kind of thing. And so I'm going to more or less let you talk along those lines. We want to talk about the football aspect of it first. And I know that there are times when we talk about the fact that a lot of times athletes are now honing in on one sport, specializing on one, and there's pluses and negatives for that. But first of all, start talking about that a little bit, and we'll just go from there and see where it leads us.
Sure. You know, sport specialization is not a new thing. There's been a drive in that direction, I guess, for a long time. You know, people have been honing in on that. This has been a process that, you know, started probably 20, 25 years ago, and now it's gotten to the point where, especially in some sports, you know, some of the overhead throwing sports, baseball, softball, tennis, you know, things like that, basketball, it's a year-round thing. And obviously in good weather like Alabama, you know, it's possible to play year-round. And so for a while, 10 years ago, you didn't see people in the northern states playing 12 months a year of outdoor sports. But now they've got indoor facilities up there where they can play 12 months a year of baseball and softball and things like that. So the overuse injuries that we see in those sports certainly have increased. And you know, the campaign that goes on is trying to prevent youth sports injuries. And as an example of how that trickles up, not trickles down, Billy Bean from the Oakland A's and he was in our office a few months ago when he was here for the SEC baseball tournament. And we were talking about how Major League Baseball's had a serious increase in Tommy John surgery in the last couple of years, to the point where there's up to I think double what it was maybe 5 years ago. I think they had 30-something of them. Well, his opinion, and I agree with this, is maybe we should have expected that, because the spike that occurred in the youth population occurred when those guys were 12 or 13 years old, 14 years old. Now they're 27, 28, and they're in the prime of their Major League Baseball career. So he's getting back to the point of, if we can't solve it at the kid level, we're not going to solve it at the major league level. And so you look at kids playing sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever sport it is, kids need time to rest, kids need time to recover, they need to cross-train, and every sport, and their ability in every sport will benefit from that, for sure.
Well, the one thing that I know that we're honing in, especially when it comes to the football injuries now, of course, there's always been the knee injuries and the arm injuries, but the biggest thing that's hit the last few years is concussions.
That's right.
And what kind of steps are being taken, and I know you're there at the ground roots level of it, especially for the high school athlete, because now the biggest thing, if there's a big hit or something like that, the first thing they're going to do is get that youngster out of there.
Well, so the concussion world has definitely changed. You know, concussion means something a little different from when you and I were growing up. We know a lot more about it now. And concussions really have kind of taken over and dominated the landscape of what we deal with, especially in the contact sports like football. So we are a little more aware, and you know, we would be, one of the criticisms would be, is because we're so much more aware of some of the downsides to repeated concussions, are we over-calling it? Are we over-diagnosing it? My honest opinion of that is that we're not over-diagnosing it. I think we are appropriately training the athletic trainers of the world. Every coach in the state of Alabama that coaches at a high school or junior high school has to go through a certified concussion training to recognize and evaluate and understand what that means. In my 17 years here, I've never met a single coach ever, one time, that had an intention to put a kid back in a dangerous situation. I just don't think that person exists in today's world, and if they do, I haven't met them yet. So I think the coaches and the trainers and the people that interact with these athletes are really doing a good job of teaching as well as understanding it. And the biggest issue that I think we have with concussions now is not an overdiagnosis, it's an underreporting. We tell the kids all the time, they have got to speak up. You don't want to have that third hit or that multiple hit game where you were a little goofy after the hit in the first quarter and more goofy after the hit in the second quarter, and by the fourth quarter you don't remember your name or where you are, and really you should have spoke up in the first quarter. And it's really up to the athlete to report that. If they don't report it, we can't act on that information. And not every headache is a concussion. Not every loss of balance is a concussion. Not every, I don't remember the play. Not every one of those things represents a concussion. It's a constellation of symptoms that you have to take in context with the athlete and knowing those athletes. And that's why the coaches and the athletic trainers who know these kids so well and interact with them on a daily basis are the ones that are most qualified to do that. And that just speaks to the importance of those positions.
Well, I know when it comes to the concussion too, one of the things that the normal person such as myself that's not as closely involved as you are, the first thing you look at is helmets.
Sure.
And it seems like that every year they try to improve the helmet in such a way that it will take more of an impact. But like you and I and Dr. Kane in particular have talked about before, the athletes today as compared to yesteryear, they're quicker, faster, stronger.
They are.
And they're in better condition, and sometimes these hits that they make, they are violent hits.
They are. And you can't, there's no question the technology, helmet technology has significantly improved. And excuse me, who wouldn't want their child to be in a good helmet? The helmets are commercially available. The parents can go buy them if the school doesn't provide them. They're expensive, and then the schools do a good job of providing the best that they can. The most important thing when it comes to a helmet, you can have the best helmet technology on earth. If it doesn't fit the kid properly, it's not going to do its job. So every helmet maker will tell you the helmet has to fit the head properly. So the most important day in a helmet's lifespan is the day it gets fit to that kid. Once you get past that, the kid's going to get hit. Helmets are there to take impact. It's not just the impact, though. There's a rotational component to it. There's a shearing component to it as the brain shears within the skull. Every helmet can't protect you from rotational injury. It may protect you from impact in certain planes, but it cannot possibly protect you from every rotational force.
And one thing I think too that you just pointed out that people don't think about, lay people such as myself that are in the coaching profession, that head coach, you get an idea if a youngster's hurt, but the most important thing is for that youngster, like you say, to let the coaches just know how he's feeling,
right.
that things aren't exactly right. But of course, a lot of times a player doesn't want to do that for the simple reason the coach is going to take him out. So
that's right.
I guess the coaches have also got to say, guys, don't be afraid to tell us if you've taken a significant hit.
Right, and so at the professional level, and with the trainers and the coaches, the coaches and the trainers, you almost know what to look for. And you can tell in talking to a player, just in interacting with them, if they're okay, if they're all there, if they're looking a little glazed, if they're not quite right, if they're making bad decisions. We had one at Vestavia a couple weeks ago, and the way we knew it was a kid who normally makes a play or reads the progressions or reads the things that he's supposed to be doing on the field, and he was just not covering it. And we knew based on that he wasn't okay, and he wasn't going to speak up. But and that's where you got to walk up to that kid and you got to ask him, or what's happening.
Well, I tell you what, folks, this has been an interesting segment talking about concussions. In particular, we're going to take a quick break, come back and visit with Dr. Dugas again, and we're going to talk about the knee injuries. We're going to talk about some of the baseball injuries and other type injuries that other athletes have to watch for and deal with. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
The next time you need electrical work, whether it be commercial or residential, you need to call Huffman Electrical Contractors. A company that's been in business for over 35 years. They've served clients not only locally in the Birmingham area and all over the state, but have clients outside the state of Alabama as well. Whether it's a new building or remodeling an older building or home, they can handle the job for you. Once again, that's Huffman Electrical Contractors. The number to call is 205-661-5005. That's 205-661-5005. Where at Huffman Electrical Contractors, a satisfied customer is always their #1 objective.
And this will be your premium right here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I combined home and auto with State Farm.
Saved $760.
Love this guy.
Okay, does it bother anybody else that the mime is talking? Freaky.
Bundle home and auto, and you could save $760.
That's 760 very good reasons to call Alan Gurdeau in Trussville today.
Land of Frost Premium is America's best-selling 1-pound deli pouch, now available in 12 delicious flavors, including new flavors of mesquite turkey and cotto salami. High school athletes across the country ask for Land of Frost by name. These great items are available at your local grocer, including Piggly Wiggly, Food Giant, Western supermarkets, and many more. Land of Frost also makes other varieties of lunch meats, including deli shaved bistro and sub sandwich kits. Land of Frost is a proud sponsor of youth sports as well. And folks, welcome back. And once again, we remind you we're talking with Dr. Jeff Dugas of the Jim Andrews Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. And I tell you what, Dr. Dugas, talking about the concussion issue, probably the #1, especially for a football player, is we're talking about that knee injury.
Yep.
Now, to get to that specifically, I think the only difference in today's athlete and athletes of years ago is the technology in that field has grown immensely too. Talk about that a little bit, especially from that dreaded ACL injury.
ACL tears are part of sports, you know, and as long as people are moving fast and cutting side to side, we're going to see ACL injuries. That's just the nature of the beast. We've gotten pretty tuned at how to fix these things, and we've gotten pretty knowledgeable about what it takes to come back from them. Excuse me. Excuse me. There was a push for years to try to get people back faster. Get them back in 4 months, get them back in 5 months, have them back on the field. I think that most of us at this point, especially in the elite kind of or high-level sports medicine world that deal with, you know, high school, college, professional athletes, even Olympic athletes, there's more danger in getting people back quicker. It was almost a bragging right thing to say, hey, I got this guy back in 4 months. You know, like we were like that made us a better surgeon if we had him back in 4 months. I'm at a point in my career where I don't want to see somebody come back in 4 months because I know the risk they're taking and the chances that they're going to re-injure that thing. And the second time around is never as good as the first. So there's still a big push on the part of the industry and the athletes to get back on the field faster. And our job as the sports medicine professionals is to get them back as quickly as they can safely participate in their sport and protect themselves. Biology does not happen faster in anyone's body. So if it takes somebody 8 months to get back and somebody 4 months to get back, the biology of healing is the same in both of those. And you want that graft to be vascularized, incorporated into the body. You want it to be functioning like a normal ACL. And that just doesn't happen in 4 months. So there is some risk at the 4-month point, at the 6-month point, that isn't there at the 8-month point and the 12-month point. And we are starting to realize that there may be some benefit in actually taking a little bit longer to get back to it. There are still times where we push it. I had an occasion this week where I told a senior in high school that we were going to try to make it work without an ACL as a lineman and a senior, and he has a chance maybe to go play. If he can perform well, maybe go play at the next level. That's a tough decision for me to make or to recommend with a family. And it was a unique situation with this kid that doesn't happen very often. Normally we would tell that kid to get it fixed and see if he could walk on somewhere. It turns out that, you know, this kid actually tore his ACL 4 or 5 months ago and has been playing all summer with it, played the first 2 games with it, and it was only in the 3rd game that he had a problem. And so maybe we can kind of work through that a little bit with this.
One other aspect I wanted to be sure that we got to touch on a little bit tonight was the fact that trying to make these parents understand that making a youngster specialize in one sport and wearing out his body too soon as compared to the fact where used to you as a 2 or 3 sports star and use different parts of your body and then not wear out any in particular. Talk about it from that aspect, because I know now more and more it seems like the parents want their child, once they get to be a teenager or whatever, to find one sport, then let's do it 12 months a year.
It's not just the parents, though. At the high school level, you know, the football coach has the football player lifting football weights in the off season. Even though they may be playing baseball or basketball, they still expect them to do their football stuff. The basketball coach expects his kid to play AAU basketball in the summer to maintain their skills. The baseball coach expects his kid to play travel ball in the summer. And so it's not just the parents, it's a combination of all of them. And don't forget the athlete. The athlete wants to do these things. It's not like they're being dragged kicking and screaming to go play AAU basketball or go play travel baseball or have a 7-on-7 tournament in football. This is part of the now culture of the high school athlete world. And I think that what you really have to look out for is not giving the body rest and trying to be a specific type of athlete when your body isn't prepared for that. As an example, I say all the time, you can't be a football player during baseball season and a baseball player during football season. If you've got a bunch of muscle on, you're a defensive lineman, and you've put on 20 pounds of muscle to play that position, you don't need to go try to take 500 swings in the batting cage. Chances are you're not loose enough to do that. And by the same token, you can't be bench pressing, maxing out in the weight room in the middle of baseball season if you're going to then go throw or pitch, you know, after school in a game. Those things are mutually exclusive. So you kind of have to be a baseball player during baseball season and a football player during football season.
Well, one thing that you have to look at too, Dr. Dugas, isn't the rewards are high by doing all that, but also the gamble you take with maybe hurting yourself, or the risks are a little bit higher too, aren't they?
All the time. And we see those things, we have those discussions with patients about how they came to make the decision to I had one yesterday, yesterday was the holiday. Last week, I had a kid come in and I asked him what made him think he should be using creatine in the middle of August and September in football season. And creatine is a supplement that helps to build muscle, but it's an off-season supplement. And so kids can get this stuff. You can buy it at the gym, you can buy it at GNC, you can buy it anywhere. It's not illegal, but it's dangerous if you don't know how to use it properly. And that's just one example of not doing it right. It's no different than a bad technique in the weight room. It's no different than trying to throw a ball improperly or not running when you're, not stretching before you run, If you and I didn't stretch before we ran, we'd tear something. Well, guess what they're going to do too? They're younger than we are, but they can still tear things. So got to prepare the body.
Well, one thing, as time winds down and it gets away from us quickly, we're talking about the fact that sometimes we want to be so active that we overdo it.
Yeah.
And it's like we're in a hurry to get to nowhere sometimes, and instead of just backing off, being the best we can be. But in our society now, everything's about winning. You're not a success unless you're a winner. And there's nothing any further than the truth. And you know this as well as I do. You can gain, and I've had coaches in every sport tell me this, you can gain more from losing a game than you can winning one, because it's easy to be a winner.
Yep.
But you have to pick yourself up and just keep working at it and to be the best you can be to finally, if you are a loser, to become that winner, but you've worked so much harder at it. So I don't know. Sometimes it's almost like we're seeing mixed messages, isn't it?
I worked in Coach Jim Valvano's office when I was in college, and I can remember what he used to tell the kids on the first day of practice or when they'd come in for recruiting visits. He said, "I want you to fail, because if you fail, I can teach you. If all you ever do is succeed, you're not going to get any better here." He would tell them, "I can't wait for you to fail, and then I can teach you and make you better."
Well, in the last couple of minutes we've got, Dr. Dugas, I think the thing that I would want you to try to relate to parents, coaches, athletes, is the fact that probably the most positive thing you can do is the best you can not to overwork that body.
That's right.
I mean, there's such a thing, like you said, seasonal, and you can even play more than one sport, but you can't mix and mingle with the working out, exercising from one into another. So if you could say something a little about that as we wind it down, maybe it might help someone along the way.
You know, every athlete has to know their own body, and they have to know what their body's capable of, and they've got to be willing to speak up and say, I just can't do that today. You know, if you're a thrower and your arm is sore, you don't want to throw in pain in high school. That's a never event. If you can't run, if you can't cut and pivot, and you're trying to play defensive back, number one, you're probably not going to be very successful if you've got a bad ankle sprain and you can't run. But number two, you're not going to get better, you're going to get worse, and you're hurting the team. So if you don't speak up, you're probably doing more harm than good to yourself, but you're probably doing more harm than good to your team. And it's the rare athlete who 75 or 80% of them is better than 100% of the next guy. Those studs play on Sundays. And you know, we're talking about a different brand of athlete. So I would tell parents and kids, pay attention to your body. Listen to what your body is telling you. If it's trying to tell you something, you ought to be listening.
Well, Dr. Dugas, as usual, it's always interesting to hear your perspective, how you try to look out after athletes, try to help them when they are recovering from injuries to get back to where they were, and always something new going on in the medical field. So we'll look forward to the next time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming by, and we look forward to seeing you, and we'll see you Friday night.
Thanks, Snapper.
Folks, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, an outstanding football coach and some of his great athletes. We'll be right back.
And this will be your premium right here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I combined home and auto with State Farm.
Saved $760.
Love this guy.
Okay, does it bother anybody else that the mime is talking? Freaky.
Bundle home and auto, and you could save $760.
That's 760 very good reasons to call Ted Townley in Homewood today.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Now, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And folks, welcome back. In this segment, as we talked about, we've got an outstanding coach from Montevallo, the Bulldogs, I believe. And of course, we're talking about ex-Alabama great Andrew Zhao. And Coach, good to see you.
Thank you.
And we've been talking about the fact that I thought it was 3 years. This is your fourth year there at Montevallo.
Time flies.
Yeah, and if you're having fun, as you all say it goes.
Fun.
Tell us very quickly, Andrew, your background, how you got into coaching, and what led you there to Montevallo.
Grew up in a small town outside of Gainesville called Lake Butler, and always loved football, and always wanted to be a NFL player one day, like all young kids. But always was drawn to coaching and wanting to coach and give back somehow to the community and give back to kids and be a mentor. Once I got out of college, I started a business downtown Birmingham, and was always drawn to mentoring, teaching, still teaching the game of football. And then I got an opportunity to be the head coach back in my hometown in Lake Butler, and I took that opportunity for 3 years, coached there, and moved back to this area because it was, I felt like Alabama, Birmingham area was real good for me and been real good to me. And had an opportunity to get back into coaching over at Oak Mountain for a year, and took that opportunity to do that. And lo and behold, I got another opportunity to be a head coach, and it was at Montevallo. Some of my teammates from college played at Montevallo and Shantu Ray and Ray Marshall and Dre Fulgham, but had opportunity to come back to that area and start something special, I believe. And it's been a tough road, but for the most part, this year I think kids are starting to believe a little bit, and changing the culture is key. But for the most part, our guys have really bought into the weight room, bought into the scheme and what we're trying to do from not only a football standpoint, but from a mentor and teaching these young men how to be men one day and be great fathers and husbands and along that line.
Well, I know one thing that it takes for a program to be successful, and I've always talked about this through the years. One, it takes a combination of good athletes and good coaches. Now, you put those together and you can make something special happen. You get a good coach with maybe average athletes, he's only going to be so good.
Right.
Or you get some great athletes, but you don't have that right leadership, you can't maximize what you're going to be. So it sounds like you, and you used a term just a second ago, and I think you're 100% on it, that the kids are buying into what you want and expect out of them, and how to get from point A to point B. Thinking along those lines, let's go to this year's team. You're off to a 3-0 start, and I think you got Hope this coming Friday night. Talk about your philosophy and how you can apply it to your team. And what I mean by that, on offense, do you prefer to run a certain kind of offense, or is it dictated by the athletes you have, and vice versa, and on the defensive side too a little bit? Talk about that aspect.
I really do think it dictates what kind of athletes you have on your team. I grew up, I won 3 state championships in high school running the wing T offense. We had that lineman that can do that. And sometimes you try to force feed teams or programs with your first thought. And at one time I thought maybe I wanted to run the wing T. But after being in football for a while and realizing that sometimes you have to adjust, but my biggest philosophy is to really just do what you can with the athletes you have. And I love getting guys back into the weight room, because a lot of times the programs that, like my hometown, went back, hadn't been in the weight room. Took over this program at Montevallo, hadn't been in the weight room. So getting in the weight room is very important, but getting those guys if you got big linemen who may not be able to run as fast, you may want to keep it simple and keep it to a power game. If you got small linemen like I've had before, where those guys got to get out and run and angle block just to defeat it helps you with the smaller linemen to block from angles. So I whatever my athletes can do, I try to my best to. I had about 3 or 4 offenses that I can run. So I definitely, right now we're running offense in the spread, which helps us. We got some good running backs, some good wide receivers, good quarterbacks. So we run that. The offense sort of helps them. Defensively, I think you have to run the same way. You can't run a 3-4 if all your linemen are small. You don't have that big guy in the front that could, at nose, that can control the line of scrimmage, or 2 gaps. So you have to do that on defense as well. And we try to get our guys to fly around, make them smarter with the scheme, and simplify it so they can fly around and make plays. And we have guys this year that's sort of doing that now, so hopefully we can keep it going.
Well, in your squad, do many of your players have to go both ways?
Yes. My wide receivers and DBs definitely have to go both ways. It's because of so much that we require those guys. We try to keep them in shape, and they do. Some of the offensive and defensive linemen have to go both ways. Because you don't have the numbers. We had a JV game today, and guys are gone, and you have 6, 7 linemen left. So we have to make sure our guys are in good shape, but definitely they have to go both ways. They understand that, and I say as a warrior, this is a gladiator sport for one thing. I say, but as a warrior on the field, you don't want to come off the field, and that was me as an athlete as well. So. Never want to come off the field, but you got to know you got to give it your all.
Well, now I know, like you said, this is your 4th year, so you really have a chance to get a feel for what's going on there at Montevallo in your football program. And having said that and gotten off to the fast start that y'all got off to this year, do you see the potential of this year, this being a playoff team?
I do. I've actually, and maybe it's my, I don't know. Every year I felt like we could do it. I really do. And some of the coaches and I sit around and believe that this team is pretty good. But this year has been a little different. I haven't really thought about the playoffs right now has been one game at a time, but I do believe this team has an opportunity if they go out and play. But do we get complacent or are we satisfied? And that's the scariest thing. And that conversation was come up recently with the squad, and I took some leaders to the side and say, hey, look, where are we now? Because I do see some complacency when we go to practice. We don't have the practice that we need to. And I'm looking for more. Every time they give me something, I'm looking for a little bit more. And I try to demand that. Yes, I want it perfect. And if we strive for being perfect, we're gonna be pretty good. But this team can be pretty special this year for the community. I think it's a great opportunity to make a run at the playoffs. But it's going to take every day we wake up, and every moment we're in the weight room, in the classroom, in the hallways, in the football field, whatever it may be. It's going to take a hard work every day, and we have to really strive for that. And so far, we've been doing it on the field, but I'm looking forward to a little more consistency from our guys.
Well, as we get ready to close this segment out, Andrew, the thing that I would ask you most is, it sounds like now to me the community is beginning to have hope of a turnaround in your football program.
Yeah.
And talk about that. Has the support from the community been something that's really built you up and sort of stood up for your players and sort of got your program headed in the direction you wanted in?
Yeah, last year really showed me that the community was really getting behind us when we had some games taken from us. And but our guys have really, as a community, and that's our guys, they have really stood up for us and really rallied behind this team. And I told my guys, a lot of times you're going to get a lot of bandwagon people, but our community has really got in behind us and really fought for us, even when it got tough last year and we lost those games. And all we want is from our community is really support the guys. When I first got there, I know a lot of programs need money from financial standpoint, but I need blood, sweat, and tears. I need you out here working, cleaning up, and painting and things like that, and we've got that from our community. So the community's done a great job, and we look forward to it. I think the leadership has changed 4 times since I've been there, but I think the leadership has once it gets in place, and right now Mr. Turner's really doing a pretty good job with us, but from having throughout the community, not only the leadership at the school, but the leadership in the community and the coaches who are maintaining and holding everything together, I think we've done a pretty good job over the last few years of making sure that we stay consistent. And that's the biggest thing when you're dealing with a lot of teenage boys, that they have to have some consistency in their life.
Well, Coach, congratulations for the fast start you're off to. Don't want to jinx you or anything, but good luck the rest of the way, and
Appreciate
maybe
it.
there's a playoff at the end of it. So
yes, sir. We'll keep going.
we'll take a quick break. We come back. 4 gentlemen playing a big part in the success they've had thus far this season. We'll be right back. Land of Frost Premium is America's best-selling 1-pound deli pouch, now available in 12 delicious flavors, including new flavors of mesquite turkey and cotto salami. High school athletes across the country ask for Land of Frost by name. These great items are available at your local grocer, including Piggly Wiggly, Food Giant, Western supermarkets, and many more. Land of Frost also makes other varieties of lunch meats, including deli shaved bistro and sub sandwich kits. Land of Frost is a proud sponsor of youth sports as well.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And folks, welcome back. In this segment, as we promised, we're going to be visiting with 4 athletes that have got the Montevallo Bulldogs off to a great start along with the help of their coach. And sitting closest to me, Andres Lilly, a senior running back. In the far chair, Zach Owens, a junior. Zach Oden, a junior quarterback. And then Corey Cutts is a senior offensive lineman. And DeQuad Bryant, sophomore, 10th grader, wide receiver. Good to have you guys. And as we get into this conversation, and we'll start with you, Andres, going into this season, did you think you and your teammates had what it takes to get off to the quick start y'all gotten off to?
Well, honestly, going into the season, I really did think that we had to drive. Like last year, we had a lot of injuries going into the first game, so really Logan Sport didn't really see all of us. So we came in this year, we had new pieces, new players coming from different schools, and we just had to drive and coach like we bought into what he was talking about, and we grind in summer, and it all clicked, and I just felt like we were confident coming into the season.
Well, good. One thing, Zach, you being the quarterback, you're the leader on offense, so to speak. One thing that I think helps teams and individuals is on y'all's football team, there's got to be great chemistry. Because if you don't have good chemistry, you can't maximize what you can be as an individual and you and your teammates can be as a team. Talk about that aspect, being the quarterback. Is the chemistry good? You guys like one another, work hard for one another, have the same goal?
Yes, sir, we do. We'll stay after practice and we'll throw routes for about maybe 30 minutes to an hour after practice. Everybody's in the weight room with each other, working out, pushing each other the extra mile, and everybody's just working together, trying to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
Now, Corey, senior, have you played football all your life? I mean, just 3 or 4 years down there now?
Yes, sir. This is my 4th year.
Okay, so you've been playing for Coach Zal ever since he's got there. So you've seen the metamorphosis, if you will, of the team as y'all have seemingly gotten a little better year to year. Talk about that and what that means not only to you personally, but to you and your teammates as a team.
Starting out with Coach Zal has been a real good journey, and I've had fun all the way through. Being the senior for him and playing for him for this 4th year has been really exciting, especially being 3-0, and I've just loved everything about it.
When another question I would like to ask, is there any certain team on your schedule that you guys look forward to playing more than another one?
Our homecoming game, Mississippi Valley.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the quad, the 10th grader, you're the youngster on this group, as the old saying goes. Wide receiver, has it surprised you, the start that you guys have gotten off to this year?
Well, yes, sir, it has a little bit. Because, like, from the start of the season, we're short of numbers, but then as we progress, we start working together and we start grinding during the season, and it just all paid off.
Are you one of these athletes that have to go both ways?
Yes, sir.
Now, what position you play on offense? I know on offense you're wide receiver. What position on defense?
Defense, I'm cornerback.
Now, which one, and don't let Coach being here influence you at all, which one of those positions do you enjoy the most?
I think I'll say wide receiver.
Wide receiver? In other words, you'd rather catch it and go than have to knock somebody down or keep them from catching a pass. Okay. Andres, one thing I like to find out, if you can model your game after any collegiate or pro athlete, who is it you enjoy watching play, and what position do they play, and how do you think that, and maybe one day you could be partially like that athlete?
Well, me personally, my uncle went to Ole Miss, and I'm a linebacker also. I like Patrick Willis, like the way he attacks. Like, I just like to watch him, and then like my coaches used to tell me, go watch this player, to just see how they work. And I model myself after Patrick Willis.
Really? Now, do you play defense too?
Yes, sir.
In what position?
Mike linebacker.
Now, for some reason, I got the feeling just from sitting here and listening to you talk, you're one of these guys, you like to hit people.
Yeah, I like it. I love to hit people. Well, it didn't begin like that because like my first year playing was my 10th grade year, ever playing football. I didn't want to hit anybody, but like after that, I started getting bigger. Like I went from 190 to 225 going into my junior season. And I just was bigger than people, and I guess it just came out of the blue, and I just wanted to hit people.
Well, let me tell you what, you and players like you are the kind that a coach likes to have on defense, and here's the very simple reason. If the score is 0-0, your offense has always got a chance to put up a score, right? But if the other team don't score, you're going to have a hard time getting beat, aren't you? I hear you. Zach, how about you from the quarterback position, juniors we talked about a minute ago? Is there a collegiate or a pro quarterback you enjoy watching play and say, gosh, I wish my game was a little bit like his?
Probably Andrew Luck. Just the way he plays, the way he leads his team, and how he knows where to go with the ball at all times. And just how he plays makes me want to model my game after him.
Well, let me ask you this. Being a quarterback is the strong suit of your game, personal game throwing. You feel like you're a better runner, or are you pretty adaptive to both of them?
Definitely a better thrower than I am a runner.
In other words, they're not going to have to run you down much. No, you're going to get the ball out of there. Well, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. Corey, how about you? Who do you like?
I would think I like to model myself after Ndamukong Suh.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Well, I tell you what, if you've got a personality anything like he hasn't played anything like him, I wouldn't want to be very far around, too close to you. That's a great defensive player. And a lot about it, and talk about it from your game, a lot of it is mental, and there's that physical aspect of it. You got to be physically gifted too, but how much is that mental game?
If I don't prepare myself the way I do, I don't think I can go into gameplay at all.
Well, you've got a good point there. DeQuad, we've been talking about some of these other positions. We're going to talk about receiver first, okay?
Yes, sir.
If you could be like any wide receiver in college or pro football, who might it be?
I would have to say either Percy Harvin or Steve Smith.
Now, if you're anything like that, then your quarterback's going to enjoy throwing to you, brother. So that's great. All right, here's another question I enjoy talking to you guys about. This is the first time I met y'all tonight, and we'll start with you, Andres. What is it about you that most people don't know? Do you have a hobby, or do you like to write poetry or sing in the shower, or what is it that would surprise us if you told us one thing?
Well, I think I love to cook.
Really?
I love to cook. I don't as much now, but when I was a little bit younger, I used to love watching Rachel Ray.
Really?
Yes. It's like every day, 30-minute meals, I was there watching it.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm going to make you feel good. You like to cook?
Yes, sir.
I like to eat. so we'd make a good pair. Okay, how about you, Zach? What we need to know about you that maybe most people don't?
I don't know. I like to write a pretty
Really?
good bit, yes, sir.
All right, now do you like to write stories or do you like to write poetry?
Essays. I like to write essays. I mean, I do. I enjoy it, sitting down, thinking, and putting sentences and words together.
Well, then that asks me to bid the next question. Then, would you like to be a writer one day? I mean, a serious writer. I'm not making fun of that.
If the opportunity ever presented itself, I would probably jump on it and try at it.
Okay. Big Corey, what do I need to know about you?
I'm more into building things and fixing things like cars and working on projects, things like that.
Okay, and you say that, are we talking about mechanic or architect?
More mechanic.
Really? Okay. Do you work on your car a lot?
No, sir, not exactly. I mean, the things I like to work on are like model cars.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to get hurt too much in one of them. You soup your regular car up too much, you can cause a problem, Okay, how about you, DeQuad?
There's actually two things.
All right.
The first thing, I like a nice little manicure or pedicure every now and then.
You do?
Yeah.
Right. And
second, I love music. I love to write music.
Really? Mm-hmm. Are you like singing in the shower? Some of your music you'd love to write?
Actually, me and my quarterback here, we might bust a freestyle every now and then.
He may be saying, "Now look, DeQuad, you're just saying a little too much here," but that's sort of neat. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, I tell you what, guys, I know this has been a big season, great start for you so far, and so with that thought in mind, Andres, do you think this is a playoff team if nobody gets hurt, and y'all keep getting better? Do you see that maybe this season could culminate as being a playoff team?
Oh, most definitely. I like seeing the progress from my 10th grade year, from that team to this team. It's fun. I want to wake up in the morning and come to practice. I want to come to every summer workout because it's just a different environment. I feel like we can make a run this year in 4A.
Okay, and I know Zach, you being the leader, do you sense that this team is coming together in such a way that y'all will play well the whole season?
Yes, sir, I do, because it's.
That's all right.
Yes, sir. Everybody's working hard all the time. It's never anybody slacking off, and everybody's just got a good chemistry and keeps working.
Okay, guys, I look at the clock. Time is running out quickly, but there's one question I always like asking you athletes because you get different answers and you get the same answers. but it's still the best question I know to ask. And we'll start with you, Andres. To this point in your young life, who's been the most inspirational person or persons?
I have to say, I have three. Like, I have my mom, my dad, and he's also a coach, but my uncle, his name is Lawrence Lilly. Like, they inspired me, and I just want to be like them.
Good. How about you, Zach?
Probably my mom more than anybody else.
Okay. How about you, Corey?
I have to say my mom and my stepfather.
Well, good.
I would say my mom, my stepfather, and my father.
Well, I tell you what, guys, you've got great role models in your life. You're off to a great start this season. Let's keep it rolling. And I will tell you this, if you guys really get mean and green and get the job done, win a state championship, we'll have you back up here a second time, and we'll hoist that trophy here on the show, okay? But good luck to you guys, and thanks for coming up. Folks, once again, another great evening, great coach, great athletes. Till next week, you know what the snapper always says, bicycle.